Okay, this one's going to be called They Miss You More Than You Think. Here's why they haven't said anything about it. I think that's what this one's called. You see the exact title I came up with just to double check. They miss you more than you think. Here's why they haven't said it. Okay. They miss you more than you think. They simply haven't said it yet for certain reasons that we're going to get into in this video. You know, if you're going through a breakup and you miss your ex and you don't know why they're putting on this poker face and not really coming out and telling you exactly how they're feeling, it's easy to think that they don't care, that maybe they never cared. Maybe your whole relationship was a lie. I know that's something that I had to deal with when I was going through my breakup with my ex all those years ago. But it's not true. You know, if you and your ex had this really strong emotional connection, that's not something that's just one-sided. No matter how they're acting now, if you felt how real that connection was, and you felt how genuine and sincere they were, I don't want you to ever think that that was fake or that that wasn't anything substantial or real, because it definitely was. And it's something that they feel too. You know, when a part of you really lights up around someone else and you feel that intense connection where it's like you get them more than anyone else and they get you more than anyone else, and the two of you just have this sort of synergistic vibe and hours just seem to disappear like nothing, that's something that can't be one-sided. That's something that they feel just as much as you. And that's something that they're still dealing with. Now, the reason why they feel this deeply about you and they're not saying anything is because they're still trying to figure out what to do with this feeling. They don't want to play their hand too early. They don't want to come out and prematurely say something and then have to walk it back later. You know, it probably took them a while to work up the courage to end the relationship or to break up. And so they don't want to come back and say, actually, I miss you a lot, until they're really sure. Because you have to think about this. What is it like from their perspective? What is it like from what they're going through? You know, they probably didn't like having to sit you down and have that conversation. Nobody looks forward to those. And so now that they have these complicated emotions, they're missing you, they're wondering how you're doing, they're wondering if maybe they made the wrong choice. They don't want to, think that they might be giving you false hope, or they might say something that they have to walk back later. And so they're going to play it very, very conservatively. They're not going to tell you right off the bat. They're not going to tell you that they miss you right off the bat. They're not going to just tell you every single thought that's going through their mind. Or at least very few people will do that. Most of the time, they're going to be very private about a lot of this because they don't want to say something that they might have to walk back. You know, even if they do feel very strongly towards you, even if they do miss you a lot, they're not just going to come right out and say that, because there was some reason why they did break up with you. And even though there might be a very strong urge to get back together or to work things out, they also remember why they broke up with you. They remember what caused them, that feeling that they felt that made them feel as if it was the only choice they had. And so they're not just going to shift their opinion on a dime and come back like that, or at least clue you in on that like that, because they don't want to have to say, yeah, I miss you a lot, and then they remember why they broke up with you, and then they have to say, actually, we should stop talking again. They don't want to do that, because they want to be consistent in things. They don't want to feel as if they're jerking you around. They don't have to feel guilty. They don't want to have to hear people tell them or think in their own mind, hey, I'm playing mind games with you. Hey, I'm manipulating you. Hey, I'm not being fair to you or anything like that. Now, you might not think that they're being fair to you for a variety of reasons, and maybe they're not, but they don't want to pile that kind of guilt on top of it. So they're going to be very conservative about a lot of this. But that doesn't mean that there's nothing going on under the surface. It doesn't mean that they don't care about you. It doesn't mean that they never loved you. It doesn't mean that your relationship was fake. It doesn't mean that it was all one-sided. It just means that they need to experience more from you before they feel ready to come right out and just admit it all. In other words, they need consistency. And they may need emotional connection as well. But mostly they need the consistency paired with the emotional connection. Obviously, an emotional connection is going to be important if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, if you're going to convince somebody to be in a relationship with you. You're going to have to connect emotionally. I know you did that before, otherwise you probably wouldn't have been in this relationship at all to begin with. So you can do that. And, maybe it just happened automatically, just due to, how the two of you get along, your personalities, etc. And maybe it's a little bit harder now, because maybe you don't understand exactly why it happened in the first place. But, that's where all the advanced relational skills and things like that we teach and have been teaching for years come into play. Those really help you to deconstruct exactly how to make that emotional connection. But it's going to come from essentially understanding that there's more in common that the two of you have than not in common. And so you have to remember that if you want to really build that emotional bond. So many times you get stuck up on how we're different. I'm a man, she's a woman, I'm a man, all that sort of stuff. I have this attachment style, you have that attachment style. I come from this background, you come from that background. I have this childhood trauma, you don't, or whatever it might be. But clinging to these things that make us different isn't going to open up that box that makes them say, wow, we have so much in common. Where have you been my whole life? I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You have to find that through commonality. And then the other key to all of this is the consistency. Once you do find that, you have to be able to consistently bring that. Show them, demonstrate to them that you're the kind of person that they want to be in a relationship with. And the good news is that you're already probably mostly there, because they did go to the effort of committing to you in the past. So that means, hey, at least at some point in the past, they saw something promising there. So it's probably not going to take too much work to improve that as well. Continue to connect with them, continue to bond, continue to demonstrate to them that you can do and you can bring a lot of these things to the table. And it's really going to help them feel more and more comfortable in the idea of committing to you, in the idea of being in a relationship with you, and in the idea of really seeing a future together. And once this really starts to come into play, then you're going to start to see them expressing more honesty in terms of how they feel, in terms of what's going on with them, and in terms of what they're thinking and where they are and what they want, where they want to take things. Because you have that trust, because you have that consistency, because you have that connection. That's what it's going to take. So, ultimately, they're not telling you this because they need to see more consistency, both from you, but also in them as well too. They need to feel this longing for connection with you over time. They need to feel it sort of hammering at their heart like a battering ram over and over and over again. You know, it's not gonna, for most people anyway, it's not just gonna happen because they miss you one night. It's gonna happen because that yearning is beating away at them for days and days and days. Because if it is consistent, they know it's something that they really want. And, you know, sure, you can just let them sit with memories and stuff like that, and maybe that is enough to wear at them. It can happen sometimes. But ultimately, the only way it's going to really take off and sizzle is if you help them make this happen. You help them to realize that you're the kind of person that they want to be with. And that comes from the actions that you take now, not just from doing no contact and hoping that they think back to the good old days, and they keep thinking back to the good old days, and they keep thinking back to the good old days. Because maybe that can work for some folks, but it's not going to work for everyone. The good old days are nice, but we all know how that ended up. That ended up with a breakup. I don't know what led from the good old days to, you know, hey, we need to talk, but that's the trajectory it went. So if they just keep thinking of the good old days, it's not necessarily going to spark them the desire to want to get back together with you. And what you need to do is you need to demonstrate to them why the two of you still have a future together, why the two of you still have a connection together, why the two of you still can get along well, and why the two of you still have a future together. And when that happens, that's when they'll admit that they miss you more than they let on. Until then, it's just going to be a private thing that they keep hidden inside their heart that you may not necessarily know about at all, or maybe you only get little tiny whispers of from time to time. But I know that's not what you want. So what you have to do is you have to do the things that we talked about in this video. Next up, I'm going to show you how to put all that into action. So go ahead and check out this video right up here. It's going to talk about how to get back together with your ex without using no contact. That's a big thing that a lot of our clients like. Go ahead and check that one out, and it'll lay out a very practical plan that has worked for a lot of our clients in the past. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time. Okay, and we'll link to the 5-part video on how to get back together without no contact. All right, let's pause this one, and we'll get ready for the next one.